Arabella, Wendy Orr, Kim Gamble. Arabella, Wendy Orr, illustrated by Kim Gamble. Angus and Robertson. Matthew's grandpa lived on an island. Wherever he went, Grandpa went by boat, a small red boat with a wild white sail. One long summer, Matthew said goodbye. His mother said be careful, and he sailed off to the island with his... One long summer, Matthew said goodbye. His mother said be careful, and he sailed off to the island in his grandpa's small red boat with the wild white sail. The boat skipped through the waves like a dolphin leaping, the sails lifting like a seagull's wings. "How do you steer?" Matthew asked. "By the feel of the wind," Grandpa said. They sailed till they saw the island, and the curve of the beach, and the wharf, and the window of Grandpa's house. It was a small crooked cottage with the salt scent of the sea on one side, the whisper of deep woods on the other, and the jumble of Grandpa's treasures in between. Ships in glass bottles, and the paddle from his first canoe, curving whirls of rainbow shells, twisted branches that had drifted in the waves, and perched on a windowsill as if she was ready to fly, a small perfect ship. She had tall slim masts and sails set to catch the wind, a polished wooden deck that shone like glass, a ship's wheel that spun when he touched it, and a tiny painted lady curved on her bow. "That's Arabella," Grandpa said. "My grandpa built her when he came home from the sea. Now she sits up there to bring me luck." Next morning, Matthew and Grandpa took their breakfast down to the wharf. Seagulls screeched and swooped for crumbs. "I wish I could fly," Matthew said. "Sailing's the next best thing," said Grandpa, and they boarded the boat. Grandpa raised the sails. Matthew took the tiller. The wind filled the sails and the boat flew wherever Matthew steered her. The seagulls followed on the strong white wings over the sea and back to the wharf. "Bring her in gently," Grandpa said, dropping the sails. Matthew nudged the boat against the wharf with the softest of thumps. "Couldn't have done it better myself," said Grandpa. That afternoon in the shade of the forest, Grandpa told Matthew stories of the sea, its wind and waves, and the boats that sailed it. In the evening, in the small crooked house, Matthew practised tying knots. "Even the best boat," Grandpa said, "floats away if she's not tied up. All except my Arabella. She'll always stay to bring me luck." Every day Matthew learned a little more about Grandpa's boat. He pulled up the sails so the wind filled them tight. He steered around rocky reefs and past sleek fast yachts, followed dancing whales blowing fountains from their spouts. One night they sailed till the sun sank red and the stars came out, and by the round white moon they sailed her home. "You're a sailor now," Grandpa said, "just like me, and my grandpa before. The Arabella's always brought us luck." But when they went to bed, the wind began to moan. It growled and howled and tore at the roof. It whipped branches off trees and smashed the window. And in the morning, the Arabella had gone. "I'll look for her," Matthew said. "No use," said Grandpa. "What the wind and the sea take, they don't give back. She's lost forever, and my luck with her." Grandpa went back to bed. Matthew got dressed and went down to check on Grandpa's boat, the small red boat with the wild white sail. She was still tied to the wharf and safe from the storm. But in the distance he saw something else, a speck in the sunlight balancing on the waves. "Arabella!" Matthew cried. He slid onto Grandpa's boat. He untied the rope and hoisted the sail. He steered towards the bobbing brown dot. The wind caught the sails and the boat flew faster than Matthew had ever gone before. Spray splashed his face as the waves crashed over the deck. "I'm coming, Arabella!" Matthew shouted. The wind became a roar and the waves turned to mountains. Matthew passed the Arabella, but his boat wouldn't stop. It shot past like an arrow from a bow. The Arabella tossed on a wave and slid out of sight. "I'll never get her now," Matthew said. His boat tossed on the waves and slid down their valleys. "I'll never get home," said Matthew. He yanked the rope to turn the sail around. The wind snatched it from his hands and lashed at his face. Spray flew, waves thundered. The boat danced a wild, crazy dance on the crest of the waves. Matthew slid along the deck till he caught the rope, lying on his belly to fight the tug-of-war wind. His arms ached, his hands hurt and his fingers bled, but he pulled the sail tight and the boat turned around. He steered towards the dot of Grandpa's island. The wind became a whisper and the waves shrank to hills. The dot grew into a wharf and a man with waving arms. Matthew's arms were so tired they wanted to sleep. His eyes were so sad they wanted to cry. Grandpa would never be happy without his Arabella. He steered him with the tide as the wind died away, driftwood from the storm bobbing all around him. Something nudged against the side of his boat. Matthew slid along the deck on his belly. He could just reach the water. He could just reach a slim, curved mast, and he pulled the Arabella up out of the sea. He drifted into the wharf where Grandpa was waiting. He saw Grandpa's worried face, and then Grandpa's arms were around him, lifting him out of the boat and hugging him tight. "I thought I'd lost what I loved best in all the world," Grandpa said. "The Arabella?" Matthew asked. "You," said Grandpa.